All right, guys, I'm standing here on the Puente Romana de Merida, which is a old bridge built by the Romans around the 1st century AD. This is in a city called Merida. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it a little bit wrong, but anyway, we're on the Spanish-Portuguese border. And what I want, and that has nothing to do with the topic of the conversation. This is anyway, it's nothing to do with the topic of this conversation, but given that it's becoming, corporate sponsored, whether they're drug company or food company sponsored studies are literally, worse than worthless, basically at this point. We also are starting to realize that much of our government regulatory bodies are corrupted by corporations as well. And so the science that has been produced by those guys is also can be or should be called into question at this point. And so given, an overall sort of lack or sort of certain difficulty trusting these agencies anymore and what they recommend with regard to health, nutrition, and so on and so forth, we come to the topic that a lot of people like to talk about, these so-called seed oils. And my position on that has been largely one of, I don't eat them, and I think that one of the issues is that, you look at the foods that they occupy. Most of the garbage, ultra-processed foods contains these products, right? They're cheap. They are, basically in everything at this point. So if you give up these seed oils, right, you're giving up all these ultra-processed foods and therefore likely to see some sort of health benefit, right? And so the question that I have for you guys is, since giving those up, for those that have done that, has your health generally improved? Has it gotten worse, or has there been no difference? Because it's hard to trust any of these studies out there, and it's sad that we have to sort of rely on the results of the people sharing their experiences. But I think that is the level of trust we have in a lot of these government agencies at this point. Yet they've lost. I think a lot of people have lost faith in them. I think for good reason. And so you start to say, well, what happens when people actually do this and report their own data, rather than going through a filter which has been compromised by corporate interests, right? So anyway, I'd like you to respond in the comments. Since giving up seed oils, has your health improved or not? Or has it gotten worse? Maybe it's gotten worse for some of you guys. And, again, I think the confounders are there, all the caveats about, what are they contained in? We're at a state where literally the state of nutrition in 2024 is they'll do a study looking at cupcakes with palm oil, which is high in saturated fat, and say, well, it's got a slightly worse biomarker outcome than something like a cupcake with canola oil. And based on that result, they'll start to say, well, obviously, therefore, red meat is going to kill you because it has saturated fat in it. This is where we are with the state of nutrition here in the year 2024. And so my hope is that we'll get studies on actual red meat, not some observational epidemiologic survey where people are eating lasagna and pizza and calling it red meat, but actually what happens when people eat a bunch of red meat and not much else and very little junk food? What happens to their health? I have my suspicions and my direct observations from now many thousands of people, but we'd like to see real research done in this regard rather than the stuff that we see that's coming out and continues to come out. And I'm just amazed that people continue to fund particularly these epidemiological nonsense studies, and again, I've been on the record criticizing epidemiology. I'll point out that the epidemiology is inconsistent. I'll show you this. One study will show red meat does good, one study shows it's bad. The message is that red meat is bad for us, and therefore, it's important to show evidence to the contrary if we believe that's truly the case. All right, guys, well, I'm going to go this little temple here. It's like a little temple. I'm going to go check this out here in about 45 minutes when it opens at 9 a.m. And then we're on our way. We're going to drive over to Portugal, spend a couple days in a place called Ericeira along the coast. Maybe go see Sintra again. Sintra's quite nice. And I've been enjoying, a lot of, I'm still pretty much doing the carnivore diet, but with a few things that I don't normally eat. So I'm eating a lot more of the cheeses that obviously I'm in Spain and I was in France, so obviously the cheese here is quite good. Some of the yogurts were quite good. And then, of course, I'm eating a lot of the the different pork products, the prosciuttos, Iberian ham, and so on and so forth. So it's been quite good. So anyway, but I'm looking forward to getting home when I get back to the routine. And as far as working out is concerned, doing some stuff with bands, a lot of walking, of course, but a little bit of strength training. But I certainly want to get back after it when I get home full speed. All right, guys, let me know what you think. Seed oils, good or bad? Have they helped you? Have they made you better? Have they made you worse? I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. All right, take care.